This is going to be a beginner's video on building your first AI agent from A all the way up through Z. Even if you know nothing about AI or automation or AI agents, we're going to be walking through literally every single frickin' step by step so that you feel 100% comfortable and confident in building AI agents for your work or your business. Let's get into it right now. So the first thing that I want to point out here is we're going to be using a platform called Make.com. It is free to get started. And in this platform, we're going to be building out a system just like this. Obviously, it looks very complicated, but it's not. We're going to break it down step by step so that you know exactly what's going on here. But let me give you a high level overview in a nutshell. We have Twilio here. Okay, Twilio is a messaging platform where you can send text messages, receive text messages, call, be called, all that kind of stuff, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to send a text message, right, to our AI agent, and we're going to ask it to do something. And then it's going to give us a response back at the end of the day being like, hey, this task has been done, right? And we're going to have multiple tasks. Task 1 is here. Task 2 is here. Practically what these tasks look like is we're just asking it to go to our Gmail account, find any receipts in the form of PDF documents, and then parse those PDF documents into line items, and then actually add that into Google Sheets, right? Another thing here is we're saying, hey, find receipts in our Gmail account and just upload them into Google Drive, right? So those are just two really powerful tasks that you can have automated using AI agents, right? So here are the tasks. And then we have this part right here that I want to explain. So essentially what the distinction here is that we have like a manager, which is acting as, you can think of it literally just as a manager that's delegating tasks to employees here. And then these employees are using tools to accomplish certain tasks. The tools are Gmail or ChatGPT or Google Sheets or whatever, right? So we're receiving a message, we're sending it to an AI manager to delegate that to AI employees. And then those employees have various tools at their disposal to get the job done. And then they send you an update on at the end. So with that being said, let's dive into it right now. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about here is actually the distinction between generative AI and AI automation and AI agents, because there's a lot of confusion, and at least for me when I was starting out with this kind of stuff, it was really challenging, right? So I created this nifty little presentation here, but essentially what I like to think about it is, and you can see these images down below here, really when you're dealing with like AI automation, it's repetitive rule-based tasks. So you have a flow like this, and you're just executing task after task after task after task. And when you're dealing with AI agents, the biggest distinction between this is that they operate on some level of autonomy, making decisions within a set boundaries, right? So this AI manager will say, well, crap, which employee do I want to send this task to? And it has to make that decision by itself, with some level of autonomy, right? And then these AI employees are going to take that task that the manager gave them, and they're going to say, well, crap, I need to figure out which tools that I need to use to get the job done, right? And there's some level of autonomy there as well. I like to think of this literally as just like a standard corporation where you have managers, you have employees, that you have tasks for them to do, and they have tools at their disposal to get it done. So that's really the distinction is AI automation focuses on reducing repetitive tasks with consistent outcomes, and AI agents act more like a digital employee, not just following static rules, but flexibly responding to changing situations. The only other thing that I want to mention here is that usually with AI automation, it's generative AI. So like what I mean by generative AI is it actually creates things, right? Those things can be images, those things can be text, they could be music, they could be audio files, whatever, right? Whereas an AI agent is going to interpret instructions, right? And then handle complex inputs. So for example, you're like, hey, I want you to do this. It needs to figure out what it is you're asking and then how to accomplish those goals, and then create a definitive answer to move forward to the next stage. So that's essentially it in a nutshell. And both of these can accomplish the same results. And with AI agents as well, there usually is some level of learning involved. In this really simple tutorial, we're not going to get involved in how to inject learning capabilities into this particular workflow. And just before we begin to let you guys know, ChatGPT technically is generative AI. We're just using it in a different way here that gives it kind of like AI agent responsibilities, where it is handling incoming instructions and it has to act as an employee to figure out what exactly is going on. So this is just a very simplified version of building your first AI agent so that at least you can understand it. And that's why I also like Make, because for a beginning video on how to learn this kind of stuff, it's very visual. You can really see how it works. It's not like kind of hidden, right? You get to see, okay, here's the manager, there's the employees, and then there's the tasks that they have to do, right? So with that being said, let's dive into it right now. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually create a new scenario. So what we're going to end up doing here is just going into make.com, creating a new scenario at the top. And the first thing that I want to figure out here is Twilio. So essentially with Twilio, and by the way, guys, if you're not familiar at all with make.com, I'm going to be going pretty fast through this. I do have a 2-hour breakdown where we go from like knowing nothing about make.com to being like very, very proficient in it. I'll link that up above here. But essentially, we're going to start with Twilio as the trigger here. With Twilio, we're going to watch for incoming text messages, right? So we're going to use our phone and we're going to have this be the interface here. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch for messages, and we need to actually create an account with Twilio. Twilio is just like essentially, I don't know, it's like a voice over IP company that deals with all things texting and phone calls. It's literally like the backbone, I think, of multiple companies out there. A lot of companies that provide text message services, phone call services, they just white label Twilio and they provide it to you anyways, even if you don't even know that this is the backbone supporting a lot of these applications online. So we're going to start for free here, and we're just going to work our way up. So I'm just going to get started here. Jono Catlif, and I'm going to enter in my email, and I'm going to enter in my password as well here. Okay, sweet. So I have gone ahead and I've logged in to my account here, and it's going to essentially ask me to verify my email. So I just need to go ahead and do that. I've gone ahead, grabbed the code, verified the email, and it's also going to ask me to verify my phone number as well. So I'm just going to send over the text message, and once this comes in, I'll verify this as well, and we're going to be good to go. Okay, sweet. So everything looks good, and we are in. So we've officially signed up for a Twilio account, and we're pretty much good to go. Now, the first thing inside of Twilio that we need to do is we need to actually get a number. Now, usually this does cost money, but fortunately, Twilio lets us get started for free. And all we have to do is essentially just get started with their, of course, answering a million questions. I'm just going to breeze through this and just give whatever random answer. I'm sorry to the analytics team at Twilio, but this is not going to be very beneficial to you. Okay, sweet. Let's go. We're now officially in. We're going to click get a phone number. This shouldn't cost you any money, but this shouldn't cost you any money whatsoever. I haven't even added a credit card to this account so far. Sweet. So now we have our phone number here, and we are going to click next, and I'm going to close this actually. And what I want to do is I want to go into the phone numbers, and I want to manage my phone numbers here. Actually, here we go. So we have just on the home page, I just backed out. This is literally the home page. We have our account ID, we have our authentication token, and we also have the phone number. This is the information that we need in order to connect Twilio into make.com. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a connection here, and I'm just going to call this test automatable. I would make sure to label this properly, and then we'll go ahead, add the SID in here, and also the authentication token, save it, we're good to go. Sweet. So now we have a connection into Twilio, and we're able to actually receive text messages and see those text messages through make.com. Really, at this point in time, we're just going to grab this phone number here, copy that, paste that bad boy into the to phone number, click OK, and we're good, right? So I'm actually going to just text this phone number just to see if we can actually get a response in, and then we'll take a look and see what's going on here. So just give me a second here as I do this. 775-363-2439. Man, it's so hard to like actually, I always struggle with actually putting the numbers in when there's no dashes or anything like that. Okay, so I'm going to send a text message here. You can see my phone just sent it off. And essentially what I want to do is see, did we receive this text message in Twilio? So let's go ahead, run it, and we can see that we did receive it. So I just clicked on this cloud button here to see the results. And you can see my well thought out meticulous text message of test has appeared in our particular trigger here, which is great. And obviously we shouldn't be saying like, hey, test, right? We need to give some instructions in this message so that we can actually do something with it, right? So that is officially the first part of the equation done. Now, what I want to do is I want to be able to figure out by setting up an AI manager what it is that this person is looking to do. And then once we have an AI manager set up, then I want to direct those instructions to AI employees. And then those AI employees will be taking those instructions and then accomplishing tasks with it. So practically speaking, I'm going to bring back in this presentation that I built here. And there's really 3 different things that I want to do here. So first of all, I want to essentially have one AI manager, right? You can think about this manager being this purple box here, telling instructions to one of their 3 employees. And one of these 3 employees, or these 3 employees will have all different functions. One will be dealing with invoices, one will be dealing with contracts, and one will be dealing with resumes. And then they'll all have certain tasks here. They're going to have to take that information. So the AI manager is going to delegate to one of the employees. And then the employee is going to have to take the same message and understand what the task is that they're looking to do. So for example, in invoices, we're going to set it up so that you can extract documents and load them into Google Sheets, right? So if you have an invoice, maybe you want to pull out the date and the line items and the tax and the total and the subtotal. Use AI to pull that data out and then load it into a Google Sheet. Maybe you want to save that PDF file into a Google Drive folder as well. And maybe you want to find overdue invoices and send a follow-up email as well. Same kind of deal with contracts and resumes. In this tutorial, we're going to be dealing with mostly just PDFs and documents and all that kind of stuff, because I think that that's also really trending too. And I love the idea of merging these together. I think it's really, really powerful stuff. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's set this up. So I'm going to add another module, and this module is going to be OpenAI, ChatGPT. We're going to create a completion here. Sweet. And the method that we're going to use here is not going to change. And then the model that I want to use here is GPT 4.0, right? Now, with this, we need to add some messages, right? And there's going to be multiple messages that we need to add. Essentially, we need to add a system message, a user message, and an assistant message. A system message is just giving baseline context to ChatGPT. The user message is giving the question that needs to be answered, right? We're setting the stage. We're just saying, hey, this is what we actually need to do. And then the assistant message is just telling it what an expected return value should be. What should they respond back to us with, right? I'm just going to copy and paste this in here and read through it together with you guys, just so that you don't watch me and ending up typing for a very long time. And I'm going to start with the system message first. Typically, the system messages should always start first. So this is just going to say, you're an intelligent AI manager tasked with delegating jobs to the right AI agent, right? There can be more than one right answer. So maybe you're saying in this text message, like, hey, I want to download both contracts and I want to download invoices simultaneously, right? It doesn't have to just be one thing at the same time. So it's important to just give the context that there can be multiple right answers to the same question. The next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to copy and paste in the content or the user message. And then with this user message, we'll just go ahead and I'll just read it out. So you're an AI assistant manager. You're tasked with receiving messages and figuring out what AI agents or paths to assign them to. Here are the agents or paths. So we need to deal with receipts, we need to deal with invoices/contracts, and we also have to deal with like resumes or applications or all that kind of stuff, right? So here are some examples of the messages that you're going to be receiving. And I like to give examples, right? Because it's one thing to be like, hey, you're dealing with receipts, but what happens if somebody comes in here and they don't even mention the word receipt, right? They could go about saying the same thing in a different way. And for that reason, I just want to make sure that we give some context to ChatGPT to understand pragmatically what the result might look like, because there's multiple ways of saying the same thing. So for example, in receipts, somebody might say, I want to parse this receipt. I want to upload my receipts to Google Drive. Summarize my receipts for the month. This is probably not the best example because I used receipt in all three of them, but I think you get the point. So the second one is going to be invoices and contracts, and this should be number 2 here. And with this, we have 3 examples. I want to save my invoices to Google Drive. I want to get a summary of overdue invoices, and I want to follow up on overdue invoices, right? Same kind of deal with applications. And then essentially what we're saying is, hey, respond with the number representing the action to take, right? So if the message comes in being like, I want to upload receipts, then respond with 1 because receipts is number 1. If they're asking to screen resumes and give a rating of those resumes, then it's going to respond with number 3. And similarly, if it's about invoices and contracts, it'll respond with number 2. But it could have multiple different responses here as well. Last thing we need to do here is we need to actually provide the message so it understands what the hell it needs to analyze in the first place. And we're going to delete this and we're going to add in the body message here, right? So it would say test in this example, but please don't ever send text because you're probably not going to get the response you're looking for. And then the last thing here is we just want to add in assistant messages. The assistant messages are essentially telling ChatGPT, hey, what should you actually reply with? So in this example, I'm just going to put 1, and then I'm going to add another assistant message just to give additional context where it's like 2 and 3, right? And then there we go. There's 2 examples of what that could look like. Now what we're going to do is save the scenario, and we're going to add in something called a flow control and router. With this router, what's going on now is we're segmenting it to multiple different paths. So let's say we have 3 paths. It's going to start by going down path 1, and then after path 1, then it's going to go down path 2, and then path 3, and it's going to check all 3. The thing is though, is we need to have filters set up here because we want to make sure that we only run the right paths. Because if, for example, we're dealing with receipts, we would only want to go down path number 1, right? Because that's what receipts is corresponding to. We wouldn't want to deal with invoices and contracts or applications. So how we end up doing that is setting up filters here. And this is going to be, let's just call it receipts. And the result of the AI manager must contain the number 1. And it's contained because there might be multiple right answers here. It might be right answer 1, right answer 2. Second thing here is we're going to do invoices / contracts. And this result must contain the number 2. Okay, perfect. And lastly, what we're going to do here is we're going to do resumes, let's just call it. And this result has to contain 3. Sweet. Okay, perfect. So now we have our AI manager set up, and it will be delegating responsibilities to the AI employees that we're about to create right now. So let's go ahead and now let's pretty much do the exact same thing, but this time instead of dealing with the manager, now we're dealing with the employees that the manager will be delegating the work towards, right? Okay, so we can kind of come back into ChatGPT here, and we're going to create another completion, and this completion is going to be the same model. More or less, I'm just going to copy and paste it in just to speed up some time here. It's going to be GPT-4o, and we're going to add a couple different messages in here. One is going to be for the system, one for the user, and probably a couple for the assistants here. Sweet. So let's take a look here. I'm going to first copy in that system message. Okay. And that looks good to me. I just want to go back here. Oops. And I want to add in just exactly what I said for the system message in the AI manager as well, because I wrote something in here as well. So you're an intelligent AI manager tasked with whatever. Okay, cool. Sweet. So we've got the first part down. We're going to add in another message here, and this time it's going to be the user message, and it's very, very similar. Like you'll see that the messaging is very similar, but there's some small differences here. So you're an AI assistant this time, or AI agent, or whatever, tasked with receiving messages and figuring out what tasks to assign them to. Here are the agent's paths, right? And then this is actually dealing with now the particular tasks that you want this AI employee to actually do, right? Do you want them to parse receipts? Do you want them to upload those receipts to Google Drive? Do you want to summarize those receipts for the month and then send it back to you? These are all tasks that you're likely going to want to do, right? And likely tasks that you're doing anyways manually, and likely tasks that you think that you don't like doing, and that you're probably thinking, man, I could just automate this, right? So this is going to be something that, hopefully practically speaking can help you out here. So same kind of setup, but just this time, instead of delegating it to employees, now we're just going to be actually executing on tasks here. And very similarly, we have the examples written out. So we have parsing receipt. Well, what does that look like? There's multiple different ways of saying the same thing. I want to parse this receipt. I want this line item of the receipt. I want the line items of the receipt. Please upload this receipt to Google Sheets, right? Emphasis on putting Google Sheets in there, line items in there, parsing, just all these different words to describe the exact same thing. Uploading a receipt to Google Drive is option number 2 here. And just sending the receipt to Google Drive, uploading or putting or whatever. And then thirdly, it's summarizing the receipts for the month, and then sending a text message back being like, hey, let's just have a nice text come in with an overview of all the receipts that we've received for the entire month. Right? And then we're going to respond with a corresponding number, 1 for parsing, 2 for uploading, and 3 for summarizing. We'll pass that same message in again, which will be the message from the text message. Okay, sweet. So that looks good to me. And then ultimately speaking, what we're going to do again here is we're going to take another router, and we're going to create 3 different paths, right? And each path will be for every single task that you want to be executed. Now you can see quickly that this is going to become large, right? So just keep that in mind. And the first thing we're going to do is set up the filtering again. This first filter is going to be parse, and very similarly to before, the result has to contain 1. And then the second option here is going to be Google Drive, and the result has to contain 2. Sweet. And finally, this is going to be summarizing. Okay, sweet. And the result has to contain number 3, right? Awesome. So you can kind of zoom out here and see like the setup. We got the manager, employees, tasks, and now all we have to do is just fill out the tasks. So for the first one, what I want to do is essentially I want to find receipts in my inbox, and then I want to push them into a Google Sheets that has those specific line items in there. So let's go ahead and build that out. Just high level overview. We get the information from Gmail or Outlook or wherever your email provider is. And then we're going to take that and we're going to enter that into Google Sheets. But before we enter into Google Sheets, we need to use generative AI to be able, or ChatGPT to be able to take out all the line items, the date, the description, the title, the taxes, the total, the discount, all of that kind of stuff. So first module here is, instead of using Gmail, I'm just going to use email because I want to use the functionality get emails so we can pull in multiple emails at a given time, right? We'll select the right account. This is so many accounts, it's overwhelming. And then next, what we're going to do here is we are going to choose the right folder. Now, for me personally, I just want to take all the files from every single folder, or just the general inbox. That works for me. And then we're going to do a Gmail filter here. And you can see in the red, it says the has attachments. We're going to use this particular query here because we want to make sure that there's PDFs or documents or whatever. And the maximum number of results is 100. So what that means is that we're going to search for the top 100 emails that came in, and we're going to make sure that those top 100 emails are only emails that actually had attachments associated with them. Just for this, I'm actually going to test with 10 because I don't want to deal with 100 results at the same time. It's a bit overwhelming when we're testing it. And yeah, that looks good to me. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to fire this off. Now, just for the remainder of this workflow, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to clone this, and I'm going to move the trigger from this Twilio module to the email, just because instead of always having to text on my phone to Twilio to get this to start, what's better is that we just build it out and then connect it afterwards once it starts working. So what we're going to do here is we have the trigger here. If we run once, it's going to automatically pull in 100 emails from my inbox here. So let's just wait, and we can see, okay, perfect. So we have 100 different invoices. Okay, perfect. So we have 100 different invoices or 100 different emails with particular invoices being pulled in, right? Or at least with attachments. We can look down at the attachments +1, and then we can see like the file information and all of that kind of stuff, right? So that's really cool. Now, the next thing that I want to do here is I want to actually use a software application like pdf.co. And essentially what we're doing here is we're taking those PDFs and we're going to convert them into text files. So instead of it being a PDF, now it's text, and then we can use ChatGPT to read that text, understand what's going on, create line items, and then we send that data into Google Sheets here. So we're going to convert from PDF, right? If you don't have this account set up here, all you need to do is you just need to go to their website, log in at pdf.co, and the first thing they're going to give you is an API key, and it is free to get started. So it's a very simple way to do this. We're going to we're going to upload a file, and that file is going to be from this email here, right? So the data is going to be, it's going to ask for two things. First, the name and the data. And the data and the name are going to be in the attachment section here. So I'm just going to type at the top attachments. And now we can see two things: the data, which we can plug in here, and then the file output name, which we can plug in there as well. And what I want to do is I want to turn this from PDF to text, right? And I want to turn it into JSON output at the bottom. Here, JSON is just a file formatting way, or it's a way to structure data. And usually, you know, make.com is structured on JSON. This is kind of JSON in a nutshell. You have key value pairs. So key would be data, and the value would be the data of the file. And then, for example, let's go out of attachments, maybe something a bit easier. The key would be like, you know, who you're delivering it to, and the value would be, well, you're delivering it to me. So that's kind of an example of what's going on here. So that looks good to me. All I want to do now is press OK, and we can run this once and just take a look and see how this worked, if we're able to actually convert it from a file into text? And the short answer is no, absolutely not. We ran into an error here. Job error, something went wrong, please try again, or contact our support. Well, that's a very, very helpful error to be dealing with. It gives like no practical advice as to what the problem actually is. So what we can do here is we can try again and work through this. So I'm going to set up a filter here. And this filter is going to be that the attachments, the data exists in the first place, because I want to make sure that that actually exists. And I'm going to click OK here. And for the name section of this, what I'd like to do is I'm just going to add like a -1 on the end, just so there's at least something in there. And we'll go ahead and try this again. Maybe it didn't have a document for whatever reason. Maybe there's no name to the document. So let's just give it a shot again. Okay, cool. So it definitely didn't work here. Okay, no problem. So we'll go through it again and again and again until we can figure out how to debug this properly. So I'm going to show advanced settings down here. Everything looks good to me. And okay, so I'm just going to take a look at what I actually did before to see if there's anything different, because I don't think there is, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's just a system error on their end. Okay, PDF to text, inline async. Yeah, it's essentially, well, the exact same. The only difference here is I can just change this to receipt, and we can try this one more time, see if that solves the problem here. Okay, so I think I figured out the issue here, and the issue is that in this particular query, I put has attachments, but I didn't specify what those attachments actually were. So in this example, it's pulling in all different file types: CSV files, images, JPEGs, and also PDF files. So all we have to do is just click this more information here and open up this documentation from Gmail on how we can filter better. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do file name equals PDF. So now when we add this in here, we have two queries. It has to have an attachment, and the file name has to include PDF. And when we come back into the pdf.co here, we're going to fire this off one more time. And this way, it's only going to upload documents that are actually PDFs, because it's not going to be able to pick up transcribing essentially a picture to text. It has to be in the right file format, which is a PDF. And here we go. We have one response. It looks good to me. So we can see tons of different data here. And all we want to do is just look at the text, right? So that looks good to me. We have this particular information. And now what I want to do is I want to take that information from this PDF, and I want to break it down by line items. So you can see in this example here that this doesn't even look like it's a invoice or a receipt. So what we'll do is we'll add in one more metric or one more thing here, and it'll be receipt and has attachment and file name equals PDF. And then that way it's only going to pull in emails with the name invoice in it somewhere, or receipt, and then it's going to continue on with the workflow. Also, if you didn't want to just have the query here, you could have like a ChatGPT module afterwards being like, tell me if you think this is a receipt, and then only pass if it is. But we're just going to set it up this way. So the next module here is ChatGPT, and we're going to create a completion now. With this completion, what is going to go on is we're going to just essentially want to break this down into line items here. So we're going to choose a model. It's going to be same one as before, GPT-4o. And we're going to add in 3 different messages here. First message is going to be a system message. I'm going to say you're an intelligent bot that is excellent at turning receipts into line items, right? And the next thing we're going to do here is have a user message. And we're going to say, please convert this receipt into JSON data with the following properties, right? And we're just going to add in some particular like data for receipts, like price and tax and date and all that kind of stuff. But we need to do it in a particular way, which is JSON data. And the reason we need to do it in JSON data is because of this, right? We need to, like, this is all JSON data here, right? So for example, remember earlier in the video how if we just circle back here, we're pulling in the message that the AI manager needs to listen to, right? The problem becomes what happens, like we're finding the message based on the key body, right? So we know predictably when we enter in the key body, it provides us with the value of test. But what happens if the key of body changed every time? First time it was body, then it was paragraph, then it was text, then it was message, then it was info, then it was input. Well, if you're always trying to find the key with body, it's going to be undefined. It's not going to pull in an answer because it's always changing every single time. So we have to standardize the key so that when we go to find, body, it always pulls us in the value of that. And that is why we're going to use JSON here, because we need to structure it in a predefined way so that we pass information like price into a Google Sheet. Price is always price. It's not total, for example, right? So we need to do that. Now, how we're going to do that is we're actually going to go into ChatGPT here. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT and I say, please create me JSON data for a standard receipt. And it's just going to do all the heavy lifting for me. And that looks good to me, right? I'm just going to copy this. Let me actually just see here. Yeah, I'm just going to copy this. That's fine. And we're going to add in one more message here. This is going to be an assistant message. And I'm going to say, please output the data in strict JSON with the following structure. And I'm going to say these values are templates below. Please fill them in. Okay, sweet. And we're going to paste that JSON here. So essentially what I'm saying is the values are templates below. So this is Supermart is a template, 123 Main Street is the template, but the keys need to stay the same. So we have a receipt that has a name, it has an address, it has a phone, it has a website, it has all the critical information that we need, right? Speaking of which, what I probably want to add in here is price. So we're going to convert a receipt into JSON with the following properties like price, tax. Actually, you know what? I think it's fine just to leave it the way it is. Sweet. Just convert this receipt into JSON data. Okay, and we'll click OK here. And actually, before we do, just one last thing here is we need to make sure that we show advanced settings and the, where is it? The output, there we go. Finally, is JSON object, and we're parsing it to JSON. What that means is that in the next modules, the data will look like this. Structured, we can pull it in, it's standardized, and we're good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this one time. I'm gonna change the max number of results to 1, just so that we're not pulling in a million entries here. And we're gonna click run here, and we're gonna see the results come through. And keep in mind, this is not necessary. This is generative AI, right? We're generating JSON data of a receipt based on some inputs, but it's not thinking autonomously and it's not making decisions on its own. So that's another huge difference there. The result here, we have all of the information, like the total and so on and so forth, right? So there we go, pretty powerful stuff. Now we're gonna move on and we're gonna add this into Google Sheets. So we're gonna do Google Sheets. We're going to add a sheet, but before we can add anything, first of all, we need to change the connection so that it is in fact the right Google account that we're pulling data in from. And I'm going to actually go ahead and create a sheet here. And this sheet is going to be called AI Agent Make.com receipts. Okay, sweet. And let's just say we want the date, we want the line item name, we want the total, or we want the price, tax, discount, total, so on and so forth, right? We can easily go ahead and do that. So let's take a look at our receipt here. We have a result, and in this we have multiple items here. So it looks like we have 3 items, right? And we want to pull this data out, right? So we want to create a line item for every single item. How we're going to go about doing that is we're going to add another module in here, and this is going to be flow control, and it's going to be an iterator. What this means is we are going to take every item, right? And we're going to create a new row for it. So if we look at the results, again, we have items. We have 3 in here. We want a different row for every single item. Item 1 goes in row 2, item 2 goes in row 3, item 3 goes in row 4, right? And how we do that is using an iterator to go through the first item first, second item second, third item third. All we need to do is go into this iterator here, go into the array section, pull up receipts, and we'll enter in just this items array. An array is a fancy way of saying list. A list contains multiple things. Those things can be items on a receipt. And then we'll click OK. That looks good to me. What this is going to do is it's going to take a list that contains 3 items, and it's going to go through those items one at a time. First time it'll add the first item to Google Sheets, second time it'll add the second item to Google Sheets, third time it'll add the third item to Google Sheets. So circling back here to set this up, what we need to do is just connect the right sheet. We're going to search from all. We need to find the spreadsheet ID to link make.com into this spreadsheet. How we do that is through the ID in the URL after the d/ and before the / edit. And we'll paste that bad boy in there. Okay, cool. So we're almost here. Sheet 1 is just the default sheet. It's like a tab in Google Sheets. You can see it. I think my face is blocking it there. And all we want to do now is just add this data. Now we have data from this iteration, right? Or for that particular item, but all of these iterations of items contain similar values. So for example, these items are all on the same receipt and they all share the same date. So what we could do is we could pull in date here, and no matter which item it is on the receipt, they all share the same date. And then the second thing that we could do here is we could do the item, I don't know, let's just do the description here, right? And then the price could be the total price of everything, and then the tax could be okay, we're just going to skip that for now. And discount is going to be this. Let's just say 20%. We can put in tax here, and it's going to be that. And then total will be the total from the entire agreement. So we could do like total amount here. Okay, sweet. So we'll add this in, save this. Let's run this and let's take a look and see. We're grabbing the agreement from the email, the PDF from the email. We're passing that through pdf.co, which is turning it from a PDF to text. We're turning that text into line items. And then we're going to go through every single version, every single item in the receipt. And you can see that we go through a list one time because the list contains 3 items in the receipt, but we enter in the Google Sheet 3 times right up here where there's now 3 rows added. And if we come back in here, we have all of the information here, right? So that looks pretty good to me. Now, all we have to do from now on out is just to finish this off is we're going to go back into Twilio and we're going to send a message. So I'm going to create a message here and I'm going to say, you know, phone number, and I'm just going to say 2 is like whatever. I'll pull in the phone number that we purchased, and I don't know, 111111111. I'm not actually going to spend any time doing this. I'm just going to say invoices have been pulled from emails and parsed into Google Sheets, right? Practically speaking, I pull up my phone here. I send a text message saying, hey, please parse these receipts. And then it'll send me a text message straight back being like, the job has been officially done. That looks good on this end, so we can connect this back in. So we're gonna move the trigger back to the starting point on Twilio, and then we're gonna just drag this plus button. We're gonna drag this plus button into these modules. You'll see that these two are the same. All we have to do is go ahead and delete this module, okay? So this is task number 1 completed. We get a text message through Twilio. We say, hey, we want you to deal with receipts. It says receipts, then receipts is path 1. We want you to parse the receipts and add them into Google Drive or Google Sheets. Okay, Google Sheets, parse, okay, path 1. And then it goes down this, executes the tasks, puts the line items into Google Sheets here, and then it will give you a response back being like the task has been done. And then you tell your AI assistant, thank you very much for doing something that would have taken me a few minutes. Pretty much instantly, I saved a bunch of time doing that. So that's task number 1. I'm just going to go through one other example today because obviously this would be a lot of work to set up another three AI employees and then 3 tasks for those employees. But I do have videos pretty much describing all of this kind of stuff and how to get started with all of these different modules that you could import in here. All you have to do is watch the other videos where I kind of go and break down these concepts just in different ways. But yeah, we have path 2 here, which is going to be once again pulling in all of those emails. And I just cloned this module because it works in the same way where we want to find emails with receipts that has an attachment that has a file name of PDF. And from there, what we're going to do is we're just going to add that into Google Drive, right? So what we can do here is we can upload a file, and we're just going to choose the right account here, which this is so overwhelming. It's crazy. I'm just going to upload these all of these PDFs into the right account. Folder, I'm going to select from a list. That list is going to be my drive. And I just have this test folder, but you'd probably want to create like an invoices or receipts folder or whatnot. And then all we have to do is just enter in the file information. So we'll come back, we'll search for attachments here, and we'll enter in file name. And we are going to enter in the data, and that looks good to me. Okay, sweet. So this is what's going to happen is we're going to pull in the emails here. Right now, we're just pulling in 1, but we could pull in 2 or 3 or 4, and it's going to go through each one individually. This is pulling in a list, so it could be a list of 5 or 10 or 100 emails, and we're going to grab all of those receipts and we're going to upload them one by one into Google Drive. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to hold on 1 second. I'm just going to clone this because I want to make sure that we can test this quite easily here without having to trigger from Twilio over here. So I'm going to just disconnect these modules here and bring the trigger back over to this email and just make sure that this routing is set up, because right now it's pulling in from the wrong module, right? You can see it's invisible here, meaning that the connection isn't set up. So we're going to put in attachments again, and this will contain the file name and this will contain the data. Okay, perfect. So now we can just go ahead and test this. Really, all I want to do from here on out is just make sure we send off that text message. But this time I want to do something special with that text message. I want to send a message to myself. I'm going to clone this just so I don't have to redo it here. I want to send a message to myself being like, hey, not only did I upload all documents to Google Drive, but I want to actually send a message with all the documents that I uploaded. So all documents have been uploaded to Google Drive. And then a colon, and we need to add all these documents. How we need to do this is we need to enter another module in here, and this is going to be a text aggregator. Now, what an aggregator is it's the exact inverse of an iterator. So you take a list, for example, and you go through it one by one, and then you add each item to the sheet, right? One at a time. First row 2, second row 3, third row 4. In this instance, what we're doing is the exact opposite, where right now it's pulling emails. Say it pulls 10 emails, it goes to the first email, uploads the document to the Google Drive. Second email, uploads to the Google Drive, third email uploads to the Google Drive. What we're going to do here is we're going to add a text aggregator. What this does is we're going to set a source module here on email, and it's going to essentially go through all instances of the emails. First email uploaded to Google Drive, second email uploaded to Google Drive. And it's only going to continue at the text aggregator once it's gone through all iterations or all versions. So if I had 10 here, it would upload 10 files, and then only once all 10 are uploaded, then it would go to the next step of the text aggregator. It's going to grab all of the data from those 10 runs and merge it into one piece of text. Why that matters is because from here, what we can do is we can put in, I'm just going to do attachments. I'm going to do file name, and we can do date, for example. So why this matters is that it's going to come through, and I'm just going to actually probably show you this as we, because I think it just might be a bit easier just to actually visualize it instead, but we're going to run this document with 2 results, okay? And we'll click run. So it's going to run the first one. It's going to pull the emails in, run the first one, and then it's done. Now it's running the second one, and then it gets to this stage here, and then it grabs both of those, and it merges the text of both receipts into one. So I have one receipt here, and then I have a second receipt down here, right? Or whatnot. So instead of it being 2 separate or 3 separate rows like this, now we're merging it all into one kind of text field instead. And then that text field would be sent back to me by text message saying, hey, you have all of these receipts uploaded to Google Drive, and here are the receipts that we have uploaded to Google Drive. I just want to do one thing, which is show advanced setting and row separators, new row, so that every single receipt that's uploaded, it's showing on a new line instead of being merged onto the end there. So that essentially, in a nutshell, is done. Now we'll connect this back together. I'm going to delete this module, and then we can align this. I'm going to save this, and I'm now going to take out my phone here, and I'm going to go ahead and give a text to the system to have this run. So let's go ahead and do that together. So I'm going to say, please parse my receipts and upload them to Google Sheets and upload them to Google Drive. And I've sent that text message out. I don't think you'll be able to see it here, but now we've received it. Let's start this workflow and let's see what happens. So we've gone down the AI manager. It routed it to the receipt section. It said, okay, we need to upload it to Google Sheets. So it routed it down the first path here. We pulled in all the emails, converted those PDF files into text, line items, and put them into the Google Sheet here. I'm just going to disconnect these Twilio modules and try this again, just because I didn't set up a right number. I just put in a burner number, and it's causing an error because of that. So we're going to try it one more time. We're converting into text, and then line items, going through each line item one by one, and then adding them into a spreadsheet just like this. And then because I also said, please upload these receipts into Google Drive, it went down the second path, because remember, this gave an output of saying, hey, we're going down path 1 and 2. The AI employee was smart enough to detect that you wanted to execute 2 tasks at the same time. And then it went down and it grabbed the emails, uploaded all the documents into Google Drive, and then it would have created an email back or a message back being like, here's the first line item with the date. Here's the second receipt with the date. And then you just send that back via a text to yourself so that you could get notified on having that AI agent's status, right? That the task has been complete. And that, in a nutshell, is how you can create AI agents and really like an AI workforce, right? Where you have multiple layers of AI employees, right? You have AI managers that manage AI employees, and those AI employees have their own tools and tasks that they're responsible for, and then they can execute those things and then give you the deliverables back. The way I like to think about this is really, if there's things that you're doing over and over again, and you're thinking, man, there must be a better way to do this, I'd probably recommend automating it. And when you're dealing with really complicated workflows where multiple things have to happen at the same time, this is a great opportunity for you to be able to build your own AI agent to do a lot of the work that you're currently doing by hand. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found value in this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe to this channel down below, and leave any comments in the comment section that you have. If you guys are interested in getting help building these systems out, either number one, you can come to my automation agency here, where we essentially help people just like yourself automate their entire business. So if that's something that you're interested in, then make sure to check out this website as well, because I'd love to see if we can work together. And other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.